She stood silent in the storm, until one choice revealed her hidden strength. The woman no one saw coming. The blizzard hit Pine Ridge without warning, and within an hour, the mountain pass became a death trap. Most folks in the valley knew better than to be caught outside when the sky turned that particular shade of gray. But when the stagecoach didn't arrive by sunset, the whole town knew someone was in trouble. Welcome to Heartbound Ashes. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this one. Standing at the window of the general store, watching snow pile against the glass, was a woman most people barely noticed. Her name was Iris Brennan, and she'd been working in Pine Ridge for 8 months. Sweeping floors, stocking shelves, sleeping in a tiny room behind the kitchen. The town treated her like furniture. Useful but forgettable. Someone should ride out, Mrs. Calloway said, wringing her hands. That coach has 12 passengers. The men in the store exchanged glances. No one volunteered. The pass was treacherous even in good weather. In a blizzard it was suicide. Iris turned from the window. I'll go. The room went silent. Then someone laughed. You. Deputy Morris shook his head. Girl, you can barely lift a flour sack. I grew up in the Montana wilderness, Iris said quietly. I know these mountains. Knowing and surviving are different things, the deputy shot back. But Iris was already moving toward the door, pulling on her worn coat. She'd learned long ago that waiting for permission meant nothing ever changed. Behind her, she heard Mrs. Calloway's sharp voice cut through the room. Let her try. God knows none of you are brave enough. The Mountain Cowboy who didn't believe. Iris made it 50 yards before a hand grabbed her arm. She spun around to find herself face to face with Cole Ashford, the most stubborn rancher in 3 counties. His cabin sat high in the mountains, isolated, exactly how he liked it. He came to town twice a month for supplies and spoke to no one unless absolutely necessary. You're going to get yourself killed, he said flatly. Then let me go so I can get on with it, Iris replied. Cole's jaw tightened. In the fading light, his face was all hard angles, weathered by wind, marked by years of solitude. His eyes, though, betrayed something else. Not concern exactly, but a reluctant awareness that she wasn't going to back down. You don't even have a horse, he pointed out. I'll walk. In this. He gestured at the howling wind. You won't make it a mile. Iris pulled her arm free. Then I'll die trying. Those people need help, and everyone else is too scared to move. Something shifted in Cole's expression. He studied her for a long moment, snow gathering on his shoulders, then let out a rough exhale that might have been a curse or a prayer. Fine. But you're riding with me, and you do exactly what I say. Before she could respond, he was striding toward his horse, a massive gray stallion that looked as unfriendly as its owner. He swung into the saddle, then reached down. Iris hesitated only a second before taking his hand. His grip was iron strong, and he pulled her up behind him with startling ease. Hold on, was all the warning she got before they plunged into the storm. The truth the blizzard revealed. The wind screamed. Snow blinded them. Iris pressed against Cole's back, feeling the solid warmth of him, the only thing between her and the freezing darkness. They'd been riding for what felt like hours when Cole suddenly pulled the horse to a stop. There! He shouted over the wind, pointing. Through the white chaos, Iris could barely make out a dark shape, the overturned stagecoach, half buried in a snowdrift. Cole dismounted and pulled her down after him. Together, they fought their way to the wreckage. Inside, huddled together, were 9 passengers. 3 were missing. Where are the others? Cole demanded. A woman, shaking violently, pointed up the mountainside. They went looking for help 2 hours ago. Cole's face darkened. They're already dead. No. Iris grabbed his arm. There's a cave. 1/4 mile north. My father and I sheltered there once during a storm. If they found it, that's a big if. It's the only chance they have. Cole stared at her, and for the first time, she saw something in his eyes that wasn't contempt or dismissal. Respect maybe. Or recognition. Get these people to the cave, he said finally. I'll find the others. We go together, Iris said firmly. You'll never find it alone. The decision that changed everything. They moved the passengers first. It took 3 trips through knee-deep snow, Iris guiding them while Cole half-carried those too weak to walk. By the time they had everyone in the cave, both of them were exhausted, frost clinging to their clothes. "Now the others," Iris said. Cole caught her wrist. "You've done enough. Stay here. Keep them warm. You don't know where the cave is. You need me." "I need you alive," he said, and there was something raw in his voice that made her breath catch. But Iris had spent 8 months being invisible, being dismissed, being told she wasn't enough. She wasn't going to stop now. "Then let's both stay alive," she said, and pushed past him into the storm. She heard him curse behind her, then his footsteps crunching through the snow as he followed. They found the first man collapsed against a boulder, barely conscious. Cole slung him over his shoulder like he weighed nothing. The second man was curled in a hollow, lips blue, eyes closed. Iris knelt beside him, pressing her fingers to his neck. "He's alive." "Barely." Cole set down the first man and lifted the second. "Can you get him back to the cave?" Iris looked at the unconscious man, then at the swirling darkness. Every instinct screamed at her to say no, but she thought of all the times she'd been underestimated, all the times she'd been told she couldn't. "Yes," she said. The moment everything shifted. Getting both men back to the cave nearly killed her. Her muscles screamed. Her lungs burned. But she dragged, pushed, and carried them through the storm with a strength she didn't know she possessed. When she finally stumbled into the cave, Cole was already there building a fire. He looked up as she entered, and something in his face cracked open. "I told you to wait," he said, but there was no anger in it. Only wonder. "You're welcome," Iris managed, collapsing against the cave wall. Cole crossed to her, pulled off his coat, and wrapped it around her shoulders. His hands lingered for just a moment, rough and warm against her frozen skin. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. "Someone you underestimated," Iris said, meeting his eyes. A slow smile, the first she'd ever seen from him, touched the corner of his mouth. "Yeah, I did." The storm raged outside, but inside the cave, surrounded by the people they'd saved, something else began to grow. Something neither of them had expected. And when Cole sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched, Iris realized that being seen, truly seen, changed everything. But as the fire crackled and the rescued passengers began to wake, one of them, a well-dressed man with calculating eyes, stared at Iris with sudden recognition. "You're Edmund Brennan's daughter," he said slowly. "The one everyone's been searching for." Iris's blood went cold. Cole's hand found hers in the darkness. And just like that, their night of heroism became something far more dangerous. Challenges and connection. The secret she never meant to keep. The well-dressed man's name was Harrison Vance, and he worked for the Western Territorial Land Office. Iris knew that because her father had spent the last 3 years of his life fighting the land office over mineral rights to their family claim. "Your father's estate has been in probate for 9 months, Vance said, his eyes sharp despite his exhaustion. "There are people who've been looking for you, Miss Brennan. Important people." Iris felt Cole tense beside her. She kept her voice steady. "My father's dead. Whatever claim he had died with him." "Not according to the documents filed in Denver," Vance replied. "Your name is on the deed. That makes you the legal owner of some very valuable land." Around them, the other passengers stirred, suddenly interested. Nothing brought people together like the mention of money. "I don't want it," Iris said flatly. Vance smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I don't think you understand. The land sits on what might be the richest silver deposit in the territory. There are investors, mining companies. They've been waiting to make you a very generous offer. Then they'll keep waiting." Cole shifted, his shoulder still touching hers. A silent show of support that steadied her racing heart. "Miss Brennan," Vance continued, his tone turning patronizing, "you're working as a shopgirl in a town that barely knows your name. This is your chance to have everything you deserve." "I have everything I need," Iris said. The lie tasted bitter, but the truth was worse. Her father had been murdered for that land. She was certain of it, though she'd never been able to prove it. The accident that took his life had been far too convenient for the mining companies circling their claim like vultures. Coming to Pine Ridge, hiding under her mother's maiden name, had been her only chance at survival. And now Harrison Vance had just destroyed it. The rancher who asked the right questions. The storm cleared by dawn. Cole and Iris led the group back to town, where they were met with shocked relief and unexpected celebration. For the first time in her life, Iris found herself at the center of attention, and she hated every second of it. People who'd never spoken to her suddenly wanted to know her story. Deputy Morris, who'd mocked her just hours before, slapped Cole on the back and called them both heroes. Mrs. Calloway wept and hugged Iris so hard she could barely breathe. But through it all, Harrison Vance watched with the patience of a man who knew how to wait for what he wanted. Cole noticed. Iris could tell by the way his eyes kept tracking Vance's movements, the tension in his jaw when Vance smiled at her. When the crowd finally dispersed, Cole pulled Iris aside. "Who is he really?" Cole asked quietly. Iris looked up at him, at this man who dismissed her yesterday and rode into a blizzard with her today. She'd learned to trust no one. But something about the way Cole looked at her, like she mattered, like her answer mattered, made her want to try. "Someone dangerous," she said finally. "To you. To anyone who stands between him and what he wants." Cole's expression hardened. Then he's about to have a problem. The offer no one expected her to refuse. Vance made his move 2 days later, in the most public way possible. He arrived at the general store during the busiest hour, wearing an expensive suit and carrying a leather folder thick with documents. Half the town found reasons to linger, sensing drama. "Miss Brennan," Vance announced loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'm authorized to offer you $50,000 for your father's land. Cash. Today." The store went silent. $50,000 was more money than most people in Pine Ridge would see in a lifetime. Iris stood behind the counter, a broom in her hands, and felt the weight of every eye in the room. "No," she said. Vance's smile faltered. "Perhaps you didn't hear me. 50,000. I heard you fine. The answer's no. Miss Brennan, be reasonable. You're living in a storage room working for pennies. This money could change your life." "My life is already changing," Iris said, thinking of the cave, the storm, Cole's hand finding hers in the darkness. "Just not the way you want." Vance's expression hardened. "Your father spent years fighting for that land. He believed it was worth something. Are you really going to throw away everything he worked for?" The blow landed exactly as he'd intended. Iris felt the old grief rise up, sharp and cutting. But before she could respond, a familiar voice cut through the tension. She said no. Cole stood in the doorway, snow still dusting his shoulders. He must have ridden straight from his ranch. Vance turned, irritation flickering across his face. "Mr. Ashford, this is a private business matter. Doesn't look private with half the town watching. The lady and I were having a conversation." "The lady gave you an answer," Cole said, moving to stand beside Iris. "Seems like the conversation's over." Something dangerous passed between the two men. Vance carefully closed his folder. "Very well," he said smoothly. "But Miss Brennan, you should know, there are other interested parties. Not all of them will be as polite as I am." The threat hung in the air long after Vance walked out. The truth about trust. That evening, Iris found Cole waiting outside the store as she locked up. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "Yeah, I did." They walked in silence for a while, their breath misting in the cold air. Finally, Cole spoke. "He's not going to give up." "I know. What's really on that land?" Iris stopped walking. She'd kept the secret for 9 months, carrying it alone, trusting no one. But Cole had ridden into a blizzard with her. He'd stood up for her when she had nothing to offer him in return. Maybe trust had to start somewhere. "My father found silver," she said quietly. "Enough to make us wealthy. He filed the claim legally, did everything right. But the big mining companies wanted it. They offered to buy him out. When he refused." She swallowed hard. "His death wasn't an accident." Cole's jaw tightened. "You have proof." "Nothing that would hold up. Just instinct. And the fact that 2 weeks after he died, those same companies started fighting over who had rights to his claim. But you're the legal heir. Which makes me either very valuable or very inconvenient, depending on how you look at it." Cole was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was gentle. Why did you come here? To disappear. To be safe. Iris laughed bitterly. I thought if I made myself small enough, invisible enough, they'd forget about me. How'd that work out? I swept a lot of floors. Cole smiled, but it faded quickly. What are you going to do now? I don't know, Iris admitted. But I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of letting them win. Good, Cole said. Because I think I know someone who can help. The alliance no one saw coming. The someone turned out to be Cole's brother, Marcus, a lawyer in Denver who specialized in mining rights. Marcus arrived in Pine Ridge 3 days later, looking nothing like his brother, refined where Cole was rough, smooth where Cole was blunt. But when Marcus smiled at Iris, she saw the same stubborn determination that had driven Cole into the blizzard. Tell me everything, Marcus said. So Iris did. She told him about her father's discovery, about the claim, about the convenient accident and the circling vultures. She told him about months of hiding, about becoming invisible, about Harrison Vance and his threatening offer. Marcus listened without interrupting, taking notes in neat handwriting that matched his neat appearance. When she finished, he sat back. You're right to be scared, he said bluntly. These people have money, influence, and no conscience. They'll bury you in legal proceedings until you're too broke to fight back. Or worse. That's encouraging, Iris muttered. But, Marcus continued, they're also arrogant. They think you're just a girl who doesn't understand what she has. We can use that. How? Marcus glanced at his brother. By making them think you're selling. Then hitting them with a lawsuit that proves your father was murdered. The room went silent. You can prove it? Iris whispered. I can try. But it means doing exactly what scares you most. It means making yourself visible. It means fighting. Iris looked at Cole. He'd been quiet through the whole conversation, but now he met her eyes with an intensity that made her heart stutter. Your choice, he said simply. But whatever you decide, you're not alone. And there it was. The thing she'd been missing for 9 months. Not just safety, but someone who stood with her. Iris turned back to Marcus. What do I need to do? The plan that risked everything. Marcus's plan was simple in theory, terrifying in practice. Iris would pretend to accept Vance's offer. She'd meet with him, negotiate, seem interested. Meanwhile, Marcus would investigate her father's death, gathering evidence, talking to witnesses, building a case. When they had enough proof, they'd spring the trap. A lawsuit that would expose the mining company's corruption and secure Iris's rightful claim. And if we don't get enough evidence? Iris asked. Marcus's expression was grim. Then you walk away with some money and forget the land ever existed. That's not an option, Iris said firmly. Then we better get enough evidence. The next morning, Iris sent word to Harrison Vance that she wanted to talk. He arrived at the store within hours, barely concealing his satisfaction. Miss Brennan, he said warmly, I'm so glad you've reconsidered. I want to understand exactly what I'm selling, Iris said, playing the part of the confused, overwhelmed girl. My father's papers are complicated. I need help. Of course, Vance said smoothly. Why don't you come to my office in Summit Creek? I'll walk you through everything. When? Tomorrow. I'll send a carriage. Iris forced a grateful smile. Thank you. As Vance left, victorious, Cole appeared from the back room where he'd been listening. I don't like this, he said. You don't have to like it. You just have to trust me. Cole crossed to her, standing close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. I do trust you. That's what scares me. Iris looked up at him, at this man who'd somehow become her anchor in the storm. Why did you help me? That first night, you could have let me go alone. Cole's hand came up, rough fingertips brushing her cheek. Because when you stood up in that store and said you'd go into the blizzard, I saw something I'd forgotten existed. What? Courage, he said softly. Real courage. Not the kind that comes from having nothing to lose, but the kind that comes from knowing exactly what you're risking and doing it anyway. Iris's breath caught. Cole. But before she could finish, the door burst open. Deputy Morris rushed in, face pale. There's been an accident, he gasped. Marcus Ashford's carriage, it went off the road. He's alive, but barely. Cole's hand fell away from Iris's face. They locked eyes for one terrible moment. The mining companies had just made their move, and Iris was about to walk right into their trap. The life-changing triumph. The trap they didn't see. Marcus lay in the doctor's office unconscious, with a gash across his forehead and a broken arm. The carriage had lost a wheel on a mountain pass, at exactly the spot where Iris's father had died. Cole stood at his brother's bedside, face carved from stone. Iris watched him from the doorway, her heart hammering. "It's a warning," she said quietly. "It's a declaration of war," Cole corrected, his voice cold. The doctor cleared his throat. "He'll recover. But he won't be doing any investigating for a while." Which meant Iris would be walking into Summit Creek tomorrow with no backup, no evidence, and no protection except whatever plan she could come up with alone. She turned to leave, needing air, needing space to think. Cole caught up with her outside. "You're not going," he said flatly. "I have to. They just tried to kill my brother." "I know." Iris turned to face him. "That's how I know we're close. They're scared. And scared men make mistakes. They also make bodies disappear. Then I better be smart about it." Cole grabbed her shoulders, his grip gentle but firm. "Iris, listen to me. This isn't worth dying for." "Yes, it is," she said fiercely. "My father died believing that land mattered. Not because of the silver, but because it was ours. Because he built something real there. If I walk away now, if I let them win because I'm scared, then everything he fought for means nothing. He'd want you alive. He'd want me brave." Cole stared at her, frustration and fear warring in his eyes. Finally, he pulled her close, his embrace fierce and desperate. "Then I'm coming with you," he said against her hair. Iris closed her eyes, breathing in the scent of him, leather and pine and mountain air. "You can't. Vance will know something's wrong." "I don't care." "But I do." She pulled back, looking up at him. "I need you here protecting Marcus. Making sure they don't try again." "Iris. Please," she whispered. "Trust me like I trusted you in the blizzard." Cole's jaw clenched. She could see the war happening inside him, the need to protect versus the need to believe in her strength. Finally, roughly, he nodded. But as Iris walked away, she heard him say, "If you're not back by nightfall, I'm coming after you." She didn't turn around. "I'm counting on it." The meeting where everything changed. Vance's office in Summit Creek was exactly what Iris expected. Expensive, imposing, designed to make visitors feel small. She sat in the leather chair across from his massive desk and played her part perfectly. Nervous, uncertain, overwhelmed. "The offer still stands," Vance said, sliding papers across the desk. 50,000. "All you have to do is sign." Iris picked up the contract, pretending to read. She'd spent all night memorizing the legal language Marcus had taught her, learning what to look for. And there it was, buried in Section 7, Paragraph 3. By signing, she wouldn't just be selling the land. She'd be releasing all claims, waiving all rights to future legal action, and accepting that her father's death had been properly investigated and closed. It was a confession masquerading as a contract. "This is a lot of money," she said carefully. "Why do you want the land so badly?" Vance smiled. "It's a good investment." "For silver mining?" Something flickered in Vance's eyes, surprised maybe that she knew. "Among other things." Iris set down the contract. "I want more." "Excuse me." 75,000. "If the land's such a good investment, it should be worth more." Vance leaned back, reassessing her. "That's quite a jump." "I'm my father's daughter," Iris said, meeting his eyes. "He didn't raise me to accept the first offer." For a long moment Vance studied her. Then he nodded slowly. "Very well. 75,000. But I'll need a few days to arrange the funds." "I'll wait," Iris said, standing. "But Mr. Vance, I want to see the land first. Before I sign anything." Now she had him. She could see the calculation in his eyes. Let her see it and risk her backing out, or refuse and make her suspicious. "Of course," he said smoothly. "I'll arrange an escort. Tomorrow morning." "Perfect." As Iris left the office, her hands trembled. But not from fear. From fury. Because now she knew for certain. They were guilty, they knew she knew, and they were going to try to silence her the same way they'd silenced her father. She just had to make sure she survived long enough to prove it. The truth the mountain revealed. The escort Vance sent was two men with cold eyes and guns on their hips. They rode on either side of Iris as they climbed into the mountains, toward the land her father had died protecting. Iris kept up her nervous, uncertain act, asking innocent questions, seeming overwhelmed by the terrain. But every moment she was cataloging details, the route they took, the markers they passed, the places where the trail narrowed. When they finally reached the claim, Iris's breath caught. It was beautiful. A high valley surrounded by peaks, with a clear stream running through it and winter sun breaking through the clouds. She could see why her father had loved it. She could also see the fresh mining equipment half hidden under tarps, the test holes already dug, the evidence that someone had been working this land illegally for months. Quite a sight, one of the escorts said. It is, Iris agreed. Then quietly, my father died 3 miles from here. The men exchanged glances. Tragic accident, the other one said. Funny thing about that accident, Iris said, her voice still soft. The wheel that broke? My father had just replaced it the week before. He always maintained his equipment perfectly. Mountain roads are dangerous. So are men who want things that don't belong to them. The temperature in the air changed. One of the escorts moved his hand closer to his gun. Miss Brennan, he said carefully, you should be very careful about the accusations you make. Oh, I'm not making accusations, Iris said. She'd positioned herself near the edge of a steep drop, where the trail narrowed. I'm just stating facts. And the fact is this land is mine. The silver is mine. And you're trespassing. You're going to sell it to Mr. Vance. Am I? The escort's hand dropped to his gun. Miss Brennan, I think you should. He never finished the sentence. Because at that moment, a rifle shot cracked across the valley, sending rocks spraying at the escort's feet. Both men froze. Next one's not a warning, Cole's voice echoed from somewhere in the rocks above. Iris smiled, though her heart was pounding. Did I mention my friends don't trust easily? A second later, Deputy Morris appeared on the trail behind the escorts, his own rifle raised. Gentlemen, you're under arrest for trespassing and illegal mining operations. On whose authority? One of them snarled. Federal Marshal's authority, a new voice said. Iris turned to see a tall man in a marshal's badge stepping out from behind an outcropping. Behind him were 3 more deputies. Marshal Clayton. The man introduced himself to Iris. Your lawyer friend Marcus? Before his accident, he sent some very interesting telegrams to my office. The victory no one expected. It turned out Marcus had been busy before his carriage accident. He'd contacted federal marshals, gathered witness statements from people who'd seen suspicious activity around Iris's father's death, and compiled evidence of illegal mining operations on disputed land. The marshal had been watching Vance for weeks. We just needed proof that they were actively working the claim, Clayton explained as his deputies handcuffed the escorts. Your visit today gave us that. We've got surveying equipment, illegal excavation, the whole operation. But what about my father's death? Iris asked. Still investigating. But with what we have now, people are starting to talk. When men think they're going to prison, they become very cooperative. Cole appeared at Iris's side, rifle still in hand. He looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. You knew the marshal was here, she said. Marcus sent word yesterday before the accident. He arranged the whole thing. And you let me walk into it alone? I was in the rocks above you the entire time, Cole said quietly. You were never alone. Something in Iris's chest cracked open. She'd spent so long being invisible, being dismissed, fighting alone. But she'd never actually been alone. Not since the blizzard. Thank you, she whispered. Cole's hand found hers. Don't thank me yet. We still have to prove Vance knew about all this. But that turned out to be easier than expected. Because when the marshals raided Vance's office that evening, they found ledgers detailing payments to the men who'd arranged Edmund Brennan's accident, along with correspondence proving Vance had ordered the attack on Marcus. Greed had made him arrogant. Arrogance had made him sloppy. Within a week, Vance and 3 mining company executives were arrested. The land was officially, legally, undisputedly returned to Iris. The choice that defined everything. Iris stood on her land 2 months later, watching spring begin to touch the high valley. The snow was melting, revealing the first hints of green. Marcus had recovered, though he still wore a sling. He'd helped her navigate the legal aftermath, ensuring the land was protected from future claims. You could sell it now, he pointed out. Legally. Make a fortune. I know, Iris said. But she wasn't going to. Because looking at this valley, she understood what her father had seen. Not just silver. Not just wealth. But possibility. A place to build something real. She turned to find Cole watching her from near the stream. He'd been coming to the land almost daily, helping her plan, never asking for anything in return. What are you thinking? He asked when she approached. I'm thinking I don't want to mine the silver, Iris said. Cole raised an eyebrow. No. I want to build something else. A settlement, maybe. A place where people who've been overlooked can start over. She looked at him. Like we did. Cole was quiet for a moment. Then, that's a big dream. I've got big land. You'll need help. I know. Iris took a breath. Cole, I know you like your solitude. I know you came to these mountains to be alone. But I'm not alone anymore, Cole interrupted. Haven't been since a stubborn woman insisted on riding into a blizzard. Iris felt hope bloom in her chest, fragile and fierce. So you'll help me? Cole stepped closer, his hands coming up to frame her face. Iris Brennan, I'll do more than help you. I'll build this dream with you if you'll have me. Have you? All of me. For as long as you'll take me. Iris had spent months making herself small, invisible, trying to survive by not being seen. But standing here with this man who'd seen her from the very beginning, she finally understood. Being seen wasn't dangerous. Being seen was everything. Yes, she whispered. Yes. Cole kissed her then, gentle and fierce all at once, and Iris felt something inside her finally settle. Finally come home. The beginning they built together. 1 year later, the valley was unrecognizable. 6 families had settled on land. Iris sold them for almost nothing. A small school stood near the stream. Fields were being cleared, cabins rising. Iris and Cole's home sat on a rise overlooking it all, simple but solid, built with their own hands. Mrs. Ashford, a voice called. Iris looked up from the garden she was planting to see Sarah Pollock, one of the new settlers, approaching with her daughter. The teacher wants to know if you'll give another lecture on soil composition, Sarah said. The children loved the last one. Iris smiled. Tell her yes. After Sarah left, Cole emerged from the barn, saw her expression and grinned. They're going to run you ragged, you know? Good, Iris said, moving into his embrace. I spent too long being invisible. I plan to make up for lost time. Cole kissed the top of her head. The woman I met in the blizzard was never invisible. She just hadn't found the right people to see her yet. Iris looked out at the valley. At the life they'd built from nothing. At the community growing around them. At the future spreading out like spring across the mountains. She'd been called worthless once. Dismissed, overlooked, told she'd never amount to anything. But she'd stood in a storm when no one else would. She'd fought for what was right when everyone told her to give up. She'd taken what the world said was impossible and made it real. And now, standing in the home she'd built with the man who'd believed in her from the beginning, Iris Brennan finally understood the truth. She'd never been worthless. She'd just been waiting for her moment to shine.